For more content, please consider subscribing to JTV ASMR. Hello again, beloved. How are you feeling? That's good, that's good. Well, I've just been brushing up on more poetry. Yes, I've been quite invested recently in the works of Edgar Allan Poe. I'm sure you recognize him as the person who wrote Quoth the Raven, Nevermore. So I was really getting into it, and well, if you'd like, since you're here, perhaps I could read some poetry for you? I'd be more than happy to read as many as you'd like, really. They're quite short, you see, but I'm sure we can spend a fair bit of time just, relaxing and chilling out here in the great outdoors, right next to this lovely fountain, which I've got to say, I just love the sound of rushing water from rivers or lakes, especially fountains as well. Anyway, let's check out some poetry by Edgar Allan Poe together. Let's start with this one, A Dream Within a Dream. Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow, you are not wrong, who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away, in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amidst the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep. Oh God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? Oh God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? It's quite a dramatic one, that. It's most likely talking about the sands of time passing through his fingers and how he is simply powerless to stop the flow of time from just pouring away like grains of sand through his fingers. There's quite a lot of dark themes with Edgar Allan Poe's writings, but that just makes it all the more fascinating. It's all of these writings that seem so hopeless and melancholic, but again, it's really captivating that way. Besides, he just seems to have such an artistic way with words. But anyway, enough gushing. Let's find another poem. This one's called Song. I saw thee on thy bridal day, when a burning blush came o'er thee, though happiness around thee lay, the world all love before thee, and in thine eye a kindling light, whatever it might be, was all on earth my aching sight of loveliness could see. That blush, perhaps, was maiden shame, as such it well may pass, though its glow hath raised a fierce flame in the breast of him, alas! Who saw thee on that bridal day, when that deep blush would come o'er thee, though happiness around thee lay, the world all love before thee? Often you might have Edgar Allan Poe referring to a you in second person. It may not be a specific person in mind, but maybe it is. It could be the writer, it could be someone meaningful in his life. It's all up for interpretation, really. Let's read a lengthy one. This one called Tamerlane. Kind solace in a dying hour, such, Father, is not now my theme. I will not madly deem that power of earth may shrive me of the sin unearthly pride hath revelled in. I have no time to dote or dream. You call it hope, that fire of fire. It is but agony of desire. If I can hope, oh God, I can. Its fount is holier, more divine. I would not call thee fool, old man, but such is not a gift of thine. Know thou the secret of a spirit bowed from its wild pride into shame, O yearning heart. I did inherit thy withering portion with the fame, the searing glory which hath shone amidst the jewels of my throne, halo of hell, and with a pain not hell shall make me fear again, O craving heart. For the lost flowers and sunshine of my summer hours, the undying voice of that dead time, with its interminable chime, rings in the spirit of a spell, upon thy emptiness a knell. I have not always been as now. The feathered diadem on my brow I claimed and won usurpingly. Hath not the same fierce heirdom given Rome to the Caesar, this to me, the heritage of a kingly mind, and a proud spirit which have striven triumphantly with humankind? On mountain soil I first drew life. The mists of the Taglay have shed nightly their dews upon my head, and, I believe, the winged strife and tumult of the headlong air have nestled in my very hair. Well, this one's quite a lengthy one, so tell you what, I'll wrap it up there. There's quite a lot of parallels to historical figures, like, for example, Julius Caesar. This one is called The Happiest Day, the Happiest Hour. The happiest day, the happiest hour, my scared and blighted heart hath known. The higher hope of pride and power, I feel hath flown. Of power, said I? Yes, such I ween, but they have vanished long, alas. The visions of my youth have been, but let them pass. And pride, what have I done now with thee? Another brow may even inherit the venom thou had poured in me. Be still, my spirit. The happiest day, the happiest hour, mine eyes shall see, have ever seen the brightest glance of pride and power, I feel have been. But were that hope of pride and power now offered with the pain, e'en then I felt that brightest hour I would not live again. For on its wings was dark alloy, as it fluttered fell an essence, powerful to destroy a soul that knew it well. Much shorter, that one, I know. I suppose that one, looking back in reflection about, I suppose, certain aspects of ourselves, well, perhaps of Poe and himself, certain aspects like pride and joy, things like that being cast aside as we grow older, and again just kind of mourning that loss, especially with, again, pride and joy, happiness, all of these things now gone to the poet, all of them no longer present. Just one more, then we can maybe just chill and relax outside. How does that sound? Absolutely, absolutely. To the river. Fair river, in thy bright clear flow of crystal wandering water, thou art an emblem of the glow of beauty, the unhidden heart, the playful maziness of art in old Alberto's daughter. But when within thy wave she looks, which glistens then, and trembles, why then the prettiest of brooks her worshipper resembles, for in his heart, as in thy stream, her image deeply lies, his heart which trembles at the beam of her soul-searching eyes. That one could be interpreted as a love poem, comparing the beauty of someone with that of a river. Of course, it's quite abstract, so I wouldn't blame you if you looked at that literally or didn't quite understand that. That's the thing about poetry. Sometimes the poet has the answers, but sometimes there's just something enjoyable about trying to dissect it yourself and take away your own meaning. But anyway, I think I've read more than enough. You look really tired. I hope I've not bored you or anything. Oh, no, it's okay. Even if I had, then, well, we can just blame the poet, can't we? But anyway, I'm telling you what, how about we just close our eyes and relax under the beautiful clouds. Let's just relax. I'll keep holding your hands. I'll keep holding you as well. Beautiful day. And I'm with a beautiful person as well. What do you say to a nap here? Yes, I'd be more than happy with that as well. Certainly, certainly. I hope you have a lovely nap. I just want to let you know that you are ever so important to me. You are truly wonderful, more beautiful than any poem could possibly describe. And I certainly hope you have a lovely rest. I promise you we'll be spending more time with each other again, beloved. Sweetest of dreams now. I hope we have a wonderful, soothing rest out here. Wonderful to see you again, sweetheart. How are you feeling? Excellent, excellent to hear. Please, have a seat, have a seat. Oh, better yet, enjoy this lovely bit of grass that I've placed our blanket on. Thought it'd be quite comfortable here. I mean, I did like the look of the bench, but I've got to admit, it just seemed a lot more welcoming to be laying on the grass here. Did you think that I've picked out a good spot for a picnic? I mean, by some castle ruins. Reminds me a little bit of home, but not enough to make me feel uncomfortable or anything like that. What do you think, though? Are you happy with our little picnic here? That's most wonderful to hear. Thank you. Well, seems that we've managed to enjoy our little treats, and while you were gone, I was just reading a bit of poetry. Thought I'd catch up on some more poetry while you went off to the bathroom. I mean, if you'd like, you could perhaps sit by my side, and I would more than happily read out some more for you, just like those previous instances when I spent time with you reading poetry. What do you say to that? More than happy to. But are you absolutely, positively sure that you're okay with it? Oh, I'll never stop double-checking, will I? All right then, all right. Well, I thought I'd read more from this poetry book by Till Lindemann. He's that singer from that band. I can't remember what they're called. A German band, quite heavy. A bit catchy, I must say, but I'm sure you know who they're called. But anyway, here's one right here. It's called Little Voice. Send me, please, a word or two. Your lovely mouth, I beg you, I adore. It is asking much too little to let me hear your little voice once more. Flayed amid the flames beseeching, let me feel your little voice. You can soothe me just by speaking. My scorching heart, your words anoint. When tears are lashing me by night, my flesh torn open everywhere, your speech has the might to make the horror fair. Quite a sensitive one, that, isn't it? Very much attribute that to, well, I personally attribute it to a certain someone you might know. Of course, I'm talking about you. You absolutely come to mind when I read this, and it's quite, I don't know, it's just quite moving how even as simple as just hearing a person's voice is more than enough to ease the pain of a person. Whenever someone's struggling, sometimes all you need is to hear that someone's there for you, and that they are absolutely still in your life. Little reminders, comforting reassurances, anything like that, really. Always grateful for the little things. I certainly am. Let's read another one. If I have read any of these, by the way, I apologize in advance, but I at least hope that you're enjoying me reading them for you. Well, that's always wonderful to know. Thank you. Here's another one for you called Heart Thief. What have you done to me? Like a thief in the night, you boldly broke into my soul, wanting to steal my life. Here, take my heart. Just take it. I'm ruined anyway. Security lapse. Just take it. I gladly give my heart away. I lay it gently in your breast. Look after it kindly, I request. Oh, you know the old phrase about stealing someone's heart. It may be at first glance, it may be after interaction after interaction. Well, sometimes there are those cases where it happens and you feel like that was never planned. You feel like you've fallen in love with someone, but that was never the intention or never expected. And yet, here it is. It's happened. Shocking to many, I'm sure, or at least maybe just shocking to the person. And I suppose that sort of sense of feeling, that how can I word it, kind of acceptance that someone has stolen your heart, and not necessarily blaming them for it, perhaps maybe a little, but at the same time, a bit of self-blame for letting it happen, and willingly offering one's love to a person, just hoping that they won't break it just as easily as they've snatched it away. So I'd say it's a bit of a bittersweet one, that you could say. Here's another one, False Butterfly. Outside I am wicked pretty, but my soul is brimstone black. Red is for the morning dew, poison green befits the lake. Oily blue for animals, but my black I keep for me. And all colors that I steal from anyone who looks at me, I suck the colors from their eyes and lock them in my soul to die. Very morbid, very gothic, but I love it for that. I suppose it's kind of like a mousetrap. It's some sort of, perhaps metaphorical for something or someone who may seem beautiful on the outside, but the further you look, the more you realize that, of course, that is not the case. Inside they are cold, ugly, parasitic, and just when you have a peek, it's too late, far too late. Already the victim. Luckily, no one immediately comes to mind when I think about that, but like I say, I do like quite morbid and gothic reads. Sometimes it can be quite refreshing, after all, just to have something a bit more grisly and gruesome and whatnot. Here's one called Happy. I'm friendly. I say hello to everyone. I'm saying yes to life and no to angst and gloom. Take sorrow by the hand, through dark clouds loom. When happiness is down, I lift it off the ground, and now I have to laugh. I suppose you could interpret that in, well, different ways. For example, you could interpret that as someone trying to force themselves to be happy and just laugh off struggles and whatnot, just kind of take sorrow, saying sadness, melancholy, and just take it with you regardless, just put up with it. Or, on the other hand, it could be interpreted as just being able to be grateful for life, and when there are dark times, you march through them, you don't cower away from them, you march on through, and when things are difficult, try and find the positives. Try and find reasons to feel good. Something to, persuade oneself. Something to remind oneself about. Well, that not everything is as bad as it seems. Of course, I understand that varies. That obviously varies from person to person based on, their personal experiences, but again, it can be interpreted in more than one way, and I always enjoy poetry where it's still, still up for interpretation like that. Here's another. Questions, it's called. Let me ask you this. Do you know why stars have shiny points? I do not know. Some days they're round, like little pearls. I do not even want to know. So many questions. A lot of people think a lot. Me, I'd far rather stay dumb. All I can say is, the stars up in the sky all night, just the way they are a lovely sight. I suppose you could interpret that literally, kind of figuring out these sorts of things, but at the same time you could perhaps interpret it as, just a bit of an exploration into the mundane sorts of thoughts and passing ideas, just looking at something inconsequential or something that we take for granted, and just focusing on it, wondering, what is that all about? What is there to say? What is there to take away? Simple stuff like that. And sometimes I do that. Sometimes I perhaps hyper-focus on an inconsequential little detail or something peculiar and just get to brainstorming, get to thinking. Sometimes it helps pass the time, but other times I admit I go on autopilot mode and don't really pay attention to my surroundings enough. That explains the spilt water from yesterday, you see. That's I take full responsibility. I take full responsibility in that. Here's a bit of a sad one. A poem called Loneliness Again. I don't want to go home. Scared to sleep in that home. Don't want to be out alone. A boat out in a storm. When Mr. Pooped scoops me up, back to my miserable room. I'll open the shutters wide. I hate being cooped up. When the cold of night so cruel makes me shut the windows tight in my loneliness so chill, I'll drench myself in fuel. Then loneliness's hug will squeeze me tighter, will squeeze me ever tighter still. Like an ape in the coil of a snake, I'll suffocate. A rather morbid one, isn't it? Quite upsetting when you look deeper into it. I suppose there are many people out there who perhaps feel lonely like this. Maybe there's a slight bit of childish, whimsical sort of element here with Mr. Pooped. That could be, for example, a father who's been very busy in the day working and picks up a child to take back to their room. That kind of sense of suffocation that comes with the loneliness, drenching himself in fuel. Who knows what that could mean? I mean, that could be literally taking extreme measures, but perhaps also maybe something like going to the shower or dousing oneself with some kind of substance in order to kind of chase away the coldness and have something be there to essentially just squeeze you tight. Who knows? Who knows? I think maybe I can just wrap it up there, I suppose. I mean, I'm glad that I was able to read a bit of poetry for you, of course, but only if you've been happy with that too. Wonderful to hear. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Good thing it's just right over there. That shouldn't be a problem for me. Okay, well, I'll be back in just a moment, all right? You enjoy yourself here. Don't worry about the leftovers, the trash, etc. I'll sort that out. So as long as no one walks by, starts thinking that you tackled all this picnic all by yourself. All right then. May I take your hand? Thank you. Remember, if you need anything at all, I'm here for you. I'm always here. And I'll keep making sure that I will always be here for you. You truly are special, you know that. I'll never stop reminding you. All right then. I'll be back in a moment.
Hello, beloved. Aurelius the Butler here, as you know, of course. And I'm taking a break from my usual Butler-related tasks to read you Chapter 5 of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. It was on a dreary night of November that I held the accomplishment of my toils. With an anxiety that almost amounted to agony, I collected the instruments of life around me, that I might infuse a spark of being into the lifeless thing that lay at my feet. It was already 1 a.m. The rain pattered dismally against the panes, and my candle was nearly burnt out, when, by the glimmer of the half-extinguished light, I saw the dull yellow eye of the creature open. It breathed hard, and a convulsive motion agitated its limbs. How could I describe my emotions at this catastrophe? Or how delineate the wretch whom with such infinite pains and care I had endeavored to form? His limbs were in proportion, and I had selected his features as beautiful. Beautiful! Great God! His yellow skin scarcely covered the work of muscles and arteries beneath. His hair was of a lustrous black and flowing, his teeth of pearly whiteness. But these luxuriances only formed a more horrid contrast with his watery eyes that seemed almost of the same color as the dun-white sockets in which they were set, his shriveled complexion, and straight black lips. The different accidents of life are not so changeable as the feelings of human nature. I had worked hard for nearly 2 years for the sole purpose of infusing life into an inanimate body. For this I had deprived myself of rest and health. I had desired it with an ardor that had far exceeded moderation. But now that I had finished, the beauty of the dream vanished, and breathless horror and disgust filled my heart. Unable to endure the aspect of the being I had created, I rushed out of the room and continued a long time traversing my bedchamber, unable to compose my mind to sleep. At length, lassitude succeeded to the tumult I had before endured, and I threw myself on the bed in my clothes, endeavoring to sleep a few moments of forgetfulness. But it was in vain. I slept indeed, but I was disturbed by the wildest dreams. I thought I saw Elizabeth, in the bloom of her health, walking in the streets of Ingolstadt. Delighted and surprised, I embraced her, but as I imprinted the first kiss on her lips, they became livid with the hue of death. Her features appeared to change, and I thought I held the corpse of my dead mother in my arms. A shroud enveloped her form, and I saw the grave worms crawling in the folds of flannel. I started from my sleep with horror. A cold dew covered my forehead. My teeth chattered, and every limb became convulsed, when, by the dim and yellow light of the moon, as it forced its way through the window shutters, I beheld the wretch, the miserable monster whom I had created. He held up the curtain of the bed, and his eyes, if eyes they may be called, were fixated on me. His jaws opened, and he muttered some inarticulate words, while a grin wrinkled his cheeks. He might have spoken, but I did not hear. One hand was stretched out, seemingly to detain me, but I escaped and rushed downstairs. I took refuge in the courtyard belonging to the house which I inhabited, where I remained during the rest of the night, walking up and down in the greatest agitation, listening attentively, catching and fearing each sound as if it were to announce the approach of the demoniacal corpse to which I had so miserably given life. Oh, no mortal could support the horror of that countenance. A mummy again endured with animation could not be so hideous as that wretch. I had gazed on him while unfinished. He was ugly then, but when those muscles and joints were rendered capable of motion, it became a thing such as even Dante could not have conceived. I passed the night wretchedly. Sometimes my pulse beat so quickly and hardly that I felt the palpitation of every artery. At others, I nearly sank to the ground through languor and extreme weakness. Mingled with this horror, I felt the bitterness of disappointment. Dreams that had been my food and pleasant rest for so long a space were now become a hell to me, and the change was so rapid, the overthrow so complete. Morning, dismal and wet, at length dawned, and discovered, to my sleepless and aching eyes, the church of Ingolstadt. Its white steeple and clock, which indicated the 6th hour. The porter opened the gates of the court, which had that night been my asylum, and I issued into the streets, pacing them with quick steps, as I sought to avoid the wretch whom I feared every turning of the street would present to my view. I did not dare return to the apartment, which I inhabited, but felt impelled to hurry on, although drenched by the rain which poured from a black and comfortless sky. I continued walking in this manner for some time, endeavoring by bodily exercise to ease the load that weighed upon my mind. I traversed the streets without any clear conception of where I was or what I was doing. My heart palpitated in the sickness of fear, and I hurried on with irregular steps, not daring to look about me. Not daring to look about me. Like one on a lonesome road who doth walk in fear and dread, and having once turned round walks on, and turns no more his head, because he knows a frightful fiend doth close beneath him tread. Continuing thus, I came at length opposite to the inn at which the various diligences and carriages usually stopped. Here I paused. I knew not why, but I remained some minutes with my eyes fixed on a coach that was coming towards me from the other end of the street. As it drew nearer, I observed that it was the Swiss diligence. It stopped just where I was standing, and on the door being opened, I perceived Henry Clerval, who, on seeing me, instantly sprung out. "My dear Frankenstein," exclaimed he, "how glad I am to see you! How fortunate that you should be here at the very moment of my alighting!" Nothing could equal my delight on seeing Clerval. His presence brought back to my thoughts my father, Elizabeth, and all those scenes of home so dear to my recollection. I grasped his hand, and in a moment forgot my horror and misfortune. I felt suddenly, and for the first time during many months, calm and serene joy. I welcomed my friend, therefore, in the most cordial manner, and we walked towards my college. Clerval continued talking for some time about our mutual friends and his good fortune in being permitted to come to Ingolstadt. "You may easily believe," said he, "how great was the difficulty to persuade my father that all necessary knowledge was not comprised in the noble art of bookkeeping. And indeed, I believe I left him incredulous to the last, for his constant answer to my unwearied entreaties was the same as that to the Dutch schoolmaster in The Vicar of Wakefield. I have 10,000 florins a year without Greek. I eat heartily without Greek. But his affection for me at length overcame his dislike of learning, and he has permitted me to undertake a voyage of discovery to the land of knowledge. It gives me the greatest pleasure. It gives me the greatest delight to see you, but tell me how you left my father, brothers, and Elizabeth." "Very well, and very happily, only a little uneasy that they hear from you so seldom. By the by, I mean to lecture you a little upon their account myself. But, my dear Frankenstein," continued he, stopping short and gazing full in my face, "I did not before remark how very ill you appear. So thin and pale, and look as if you had been watching for several nights." "You have guessed right. I have lately been so deeply engaged in one occupation that I have not allowed myself sufficient rest, as you see. But I sincerely hope, that all these employments are now at an end, and that I am at length free." I trembled excessively. I could not endure to think of, and far less to allude to, the occurrences of the preceding night. I walked with a quick pace, and we soon arrived at my college. I then reflected, and the thought made me shiver, that the creature whom I had left in my apartment might still be there, alive and walking about. I dreaded to behold this monster, but I feared still more that Henry should see him. I entreated him, therefore, to remain a few minutes at the bottom of the stairs. I darted towards my own room. My hand was already on the lock of the door before I recollected myself. I then paused, and a cold shivering came over me. I threw the door forcibly open, as children are accustomed to do when they expect a spectre to stand in waiting for them on the other side. But nothing appeared. I stepped fearfully in. The apartment was empty, and my bedroom was also freed from its hideous guest. I could hardly believe that so great a good fortune could have befallen me. But when I became assured that my enemy had indeed fled, I clapped my hands for joy and ran down to Clerval. We ascended into my room, and the servant presently brought breakfast, but I was unable to contain myself. It was not joy only that possessed me. I felt my flesh tingle with excess of sensitiveness, and my pulse beat rapidly. I was unable to retain for a single instant in the same place. I jumped over the chairs, clapped my hands, and laughed aloud. Clerval at first attributed my unusual spirits to joy on his arrival, but when he observed me more attentively, he saw a wildness in my eyes for which he could not account, and my loud, unrestrained, heartless laughter frightened and astonished him. "My dear Victor," cried he, "what for God's sakes is the matter? Do not laugh in that matter. How ill you are! What is the cause of all this?" "Do not ask me," cried I, putting my hands before my eyes, for I thought I saw the dreaded spectre glide into the room. "He can tell. Oh, save me! Save me!" I imagined that the monster seized me. I struggled furiously and fell down in a fit. Poor Clerval! What must have been his feelings? A meeting which he anticipated with such joy, so strangely turned into bitterness. But I was not the witness of his grief, for I was lifeless, and did not recover my senses for a long, long time. This was the commencement of a nervous fever, which confined me for several months. During all that time, Henry was my only nurse. I afterwards learned that, knowing my father's advanced age and unfitness for so long a journey, and how wretched my sickness would make Elizabeth, he spared them this grief by concealing the extent of my disorder. He knew that I could not have a more kind and attentive nurse than himself, and, firm in the hope he felt of my recovery, he did not doubt that, instead of doing harm, he performed the kindest action that he could towards them. But I was in reality very ill, and surely nothing but the unbound and unremitting attentions of my friend could have restored me to life. The form of the monster on which I had bestowed existence was forever before my eyes, and I raved incessantly concerning him. Doubtless my words surprised Henry. He had first believed them to be the wanderings of my disturbed imagination, but the pertinacity with which I continually recurred to the same subject persuaded him that my disorder indeed owed its origin to some uncommon and terrible event. By very slow degrees, and with frequent relapses that alarmed and grieved my friend, I recovered. I remember the first time I became capable of observing outward objects with any kind of pleasure. I perceived that the fallen leaves had disappeared, and that the young buds were shooting forth from the trees that shaded my window. It was a divine spring, and the season contributed greatly to my convalescence. I felt also sentiments of joy and affection receive in my bosom. My gloom disappeared, and in a short time I became as cheerful as before I was attacked by the fatal passion. "Dearest Clerval," exclaimed I, "how kind, how very good you are to me. This whole winter, instead of being spent in study, as you promised yourself, has been consumed in my sickbed. How shall I ever repay you? I feel the greatest remorse for the disappointment of which I had been the occasion. But you will forgive me? You will repay me entirely if you do not discompose yourself, but get well as fast as you can. And since you appear in such good spirits, I may speak to you on one subject, may I not?" I trembled. One subject? What could it be? Could he allude to an object on whom I dared not even think? "Compose yourself," said Clerval, who observed my change of colour. "I will not mention it if it agitates you, but your father and cousin would be very happy if they received a letter for you in your own handwriting. They hardly know how ill you have been, and are uneasy as your long silences." "Is that all, my dear Henry? How could you suppose that my first thought would not fly towards those dear, dear friends whom I love, and who are so deserving of my love? If this is your present temper, my friend, you will perhaps be glad to see a letter that has been lying here some days for you. It is from your cousin, I believe. That was Chapter 5 of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I hope you enjoyed listening to it, beloved. Thank you for listening. Greetings once again, beloved. Aurelius the Butler here, but of course you already know that. Anyway, I have some more Gothic poetry here by Edgar Allan Poe, and I'd love to read it for you. Please, let yourself get all comfortable and relaxed, and let's begin. This poem is called To Marie Louise Shoe. Not long ago, the writer of these lines, in the mad pride of intellectuality, maintained the power of words, denied that ever a thought arose within the human brain beyond the utterance of the human tongue. And now, as if in mockery of that boast, 2 words, 2 foreign soft dissyllables, Italian tones, made only to be murmured by angels dreaming in the moonlit dew that hangs like chains of pearl on Hermon Hill, have stirred from out the abysses of his heart unthought-like thoughts that are the souls of thought, richer, far wilder, far diviner visions than even the seraph harper Israfel, who has the sweetest voice of all God's creatures, could hope to utter. And I, my spells are broken. The pen falls powerless from my shivering hand, with thy dear name as text. Though hidden by thee, I cannot write, I cannot speak or think. Alas, I cannot feel, for 'tis not feeling. This standing motionless upon the golden threshold of the wide open gate of dreams, gazing entranced adown the gorgeous vista, and thrilling as I see upon the right, upon the left, and all the way along, amid empurpled vapors far away, to where the prospect terminates, thee only. That was To Marie Louise Shoe. Now let's read another one. This one is called To Helen. I saw thee once only, years ago. I must not say how many, but not many. It was a July midnight, and from out a full-orbed moon that, like thine own soul, soaring, sought a precipitate pathway up through heaven, there fell a silvery silken veil of light, with quietude and sultriness and slumber upon the upturned faces of 1,000 roses that grew in an enchanted garden, where no wind dared to stir, unless on tiptoe, fell on the upturned faces of these roses that gave out, in return for the love light, their odorous souls in an ecstatic death, fell on the upturned faces of these roses that smiled and died in this parterre, enchanted by thee and by the poetry of thy presence. Clad all in white upon a violet bank, I saw thee half reclining, while the moon fell on the upturned faces of the roses, and on thine own upturned. Alas, in sorrow! Was it not fate that, on this July midnight, was it not fate, whose name is also sorrow, that bade me pause before that garden gate to breathe the incense of those slumbering roses? No footsteps stirred, the hated world all slept. Save me, save only thee and me. Oh heaven, oh God, How my heart beats in coupling those two words. Save only thee and me. I paused, I looked, and in an instant all things disappeared. Bear in mind this garden was enchanted. The pearly lustre of the moon went out. The mossy banks and the meandering paths, the happy flowers and the repining trees were seen no more. The very roses' odours died in the arms of the adoring airs. All expired save thee, save less than thou, save only the divine light in thine eyes, save but the soul in thine uplifted eyes. I saw but them. They were the world to me. I saw but them, saw only them for hours, saw only them until the moon went down. What wild heart histories seemed to lie unwritten upon those crystalline celestial spheres. How dark a woe, yet how sublime a hope. How silently serene a sea of pride. How daring an ambition, yet how deep, how fathomless a capacity for love. But now at length dear Dian sank from sight into a western couch of thundercloud, and thou, a ghost, amid the entombing trees didst glide away. Only thine eyes remained. They would not go. They never yet have gone, lighting my lonely pathway home that night. They have not left me, as my hopes have, since. They follow me, they lead me through the years. They are my ministers, yet I their slave. Their office is to illumine and enkindle. My duty to be saved by their bright light, and purified in their electric fire, and sanctioned in their Elysian fire. They fill my soul with beauty, which is hope. And afar up in heaven, the stars I kneel to in the sad, silent watches of my night, while even in the meridian glare of day I see them still, two sweetly scintillant Venuses, unextinguished by the sun. That poem was To Helen. Let's read another poem. This is called Annabel Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that, long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above nor the demons down the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise but I see the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the side of the sea. That was Annabel Lee. Let's read one more. This one called El Dorado. Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song, in search for El Dorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And, as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. "Shadow," said he, "where can it be, this land of El Dorado?" "Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow. Ride, boldly ride," the shade replied, "if you seek for El Dorado." All right then, let's wrap up the poetry session for now, but I promise you I'd be more than happy to read more. If you're ever interested, please do let me know. Maybe there might be other poets that you might like me to read, or maybe more from Edgar Allan Poe. Maybe some more readings from some other authors. It's up to you. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful, relaxing day. Hello, beloved. Aurelius, the servant here. Your servant, of course. Anyway, I'll be reading some more poetry for you. Today are extracts of Till Lindeman's poetry from his book 100 Poems, translated to English. This one is called Mine. Seems bound to your little heart no more. Its sound, its beat obeys a different, unfamiliar score. Apart from your pulse and from you, it trips up from its own blood, an alien throbbing through. Beats frail and lonely falter, memories as pale as washing up water. A heart that knows what it truly wants to do flies off like a thieving crow, and vehemently seeks to be close to you. This next one is called The Guilty One Is Me, of course. It's very clear to see, wordlessly I scream, I speak truth when I lie, honestly try to deceive. I mourn my youth has passed, the years are passing by, got no bird in the hand, no bird in the bush will stay. I have to kiss you, have to feel you, want to hold you, want to touch you, have to breathe you, talk with you, and I want to praise you, have to punish you, lie with you, sleep with you, but as every day goes past, I can't ignore your hideous, non-stop viciousness. Loving you's no fun. I've just put up with you for long enough, owing guilt to guiltiness, but I'll lighten up the gloom. When I lie, I speak the truth. I can't ignore your hideous. The guilty one is me, of course. This next poem is called Love. Wait, I'm really into you. Heart and gold and stars I'll give you. Fire burns within my rib cage. Love, they call it, if inanely. Crumple up your pretty soul, toss it on the happy flame. Soon everything goes up in smoke, only ashes will remain. This is a short poem called Witch. What have I done? What did I not do? What witch will nurse this curse? This next poem is called The Sad People's Army. Are you as sad as me? Tears are running down your face. Come and join our company. Come and join our sad brigade. Why be lonely sniveling? Join our ranks, be one of us, march with us in misery, one for all and all for one. Come now, join our company. None should weep alone, alone. Solitary suffer woe. Join the army of the low. Joyless, marching joylessly, all endure one agony, singing in a minor key, a heavy song and no tee-hee. When we join our sadnesses, we help the pain to bear a child. When we weep together then, for the child the sun might shine. Up next is What? You're out upon the wild waters. I can't see you, night blind, running up and down the shore. Call your name into the wind. Why not come back to shore? No one admits how cold they feel. Swam out far too far. What was it brought us here? I sent a signal up for you so you'd find me easily. The flare illuminates the night, but it doesn't shine on me. But hope's got nothing to hold on to, salt swallowing gale tossed. On the shore soaked and freezing, you don't care if I'm lost. Here's another brief poem called As Always. Something lifted me up high. It felt as if I were flying. Saw myself suddenly from above. It was great. And soon over, as always, which isn't so great. And here we have loneliness again. I don't want to go home, scared to sleep in that home. Don't want to be out alone, a boat out in a storm. When Mr. Pooped scoops me up back to my miserable room, I open the shutters wide. I hate being cooped up when the cold of night so cruel makes me shut the windows tight. In my loneliness so chill, I'll drench myself in fuel. Then loneliness's hug will squeeze me ever tighter till, like an ape in the coil of a snake, I'll suffocate. Another short poem here called Food. I could eat you up, your smell and taste I adore. Oh, I could devour you. Oh dear, but then you won't be there anymore. Now we have questions. Let me ask you this. Do you know why stars have shiny points? I do not know. Some days they're round like little pearls. I do not even want to know. So many questions. A lot of people think a lot. Me, I'd far rather stay dumb all I can. Me, I'd rather stay dumb. All I can say is the stars up in the sky at night, just the way they are a lovely sight. Now for another one, On a Leash. Did you ever stop and think what it'd be like to live without love, without this shackle? Your soul's a dog your heart brings to heel. So free your body so, open your spirit, different breathing. Alas, no, we're all walked on that leash. Here's an additional short poem, Blossom. Cherry blossom on the twigs, tulle and white the tree does kiss. Spring is on its way to us, breathing joy into our breast. Warm days, cold night, the beauties plucked away by frost. Against the wall my head I smash, my days of bloom all turned to ash. How about a longer poem here? Over. Dear friend, let me tell you a story. I'm suffering badly indeed. I no longer know what I'm doing. She's fine, and my heart bleeds. I lie down, I get up from my pillow, rats running through my chest. I go out for a walk and stay standing, eyes open, seeing nothing at best. Dear friend, I would tell you a lie if I wasn't just terrified, but I'm bravely submitting to torment, being peeled by love's sharp knife. I'm standing but naked and heartless. She missed me, she said, yesterday. Our armors then discarded, tore my life up and threw it away. It's wreckage, it's shattered in pieces. You're still here, and you've already gone. Everything is everything so broken. And so on, and so on, and so on. Each second is a whiplash. Vainly I must think of you. Must be love, I must have been thinking. But no, not true. One final poem will suffice, I'm sure. This is called Happy. I'm friendly. I say hello to everyone. I'm saying yes to life and no to angst and gloom. Take sorrow by the hand, through dark clouds loom. When happiness is down, I lift it off the ground, and now I have to laugh. I hope you enjoyed this reading of 100 poems from Till Lindemann. And I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much for listening, sweetheart.